Welcome back. This is our third day of basic hypnosis training. We will be looking at chapters 106, suggestibility tests, 108, things that influence the ability to respond to suggestion, 109, depth versus quality of response, chapter 111, deepening, chapter 113, identifying your subjects, and again, we will continue to use chapter 119, independent study. Things that will influence a person's ability to respond to suggestion begin when they call you. The pre-talk. You'll want to talk to a person about their previous experiences with hypnosis. Get rid of all the myths. Find out what they think that are misassumptions and clarify for them. The one thing that will prevent a person, well, the two things that will prevent a person from experiencing hypnosis is fear and a lack of trust. You want to build trust, dispel any fearful thoughts, and establish rapport. One of the biggest things that causes fear is a fear of the unknown. This is the point in having a pre-talk where you discuss with a person on the phone before they come to see you and when they arrive, what they hope to achieve. Sometimes the person's afraid of the change, the very change that they're asking for. You need to find out what's going on with them. All hypnosis is a consent state. Person says they want to enter trance. They say they want to achieve their goals. And you have to start with self-trust and relaxation. Progressive relaxation from the top of the head to the tip of the toes, or from the tip of the toes to the top of the head, is a useful way to start a person learning to be in connection with their body. The suggestibility tests open the door to the subconscious, to the imaginative mind, and use whatever test gives the best response as your induction. Every person will respond uniquely to the powers of suggestion and relaxation, and some people will move faster or slower than other people. Use direct suggestions to offer your clients an option. Sometimes someone will call and say, well, can you guarantee that I'll do this in one session? No, I don't guarantee human behavior. I can barely control my own. I guarantee that. But I will say that there are 4 types of people that I encounter who express interest in hypnosis. 30% of the people get what they want in one session. Are you that? Are you in a hurry? 30% of the people take 2 to 6 sessions. They have some minor payoffs, things that are bothering them, and we have to work our way through all those. 30% of the people are slow, stubborn, opinionated. They stop and start and stop and start. Does that sound like you? And 10% of the people I cannot help right now because they don't want it for themselves. Perhaps they're coming in because their parent or a sibling or a loved one has asked them to come and make changes. Maybe even their doctor has asked them to do some training so that they can reduce their discomfort or get off pain pills. If a person is not coming for their own will, but somebody else wants them to do it, it can be more difficult, more challenging to help that person achieve their goal because the goal has not been set by them. This is why it's important to use direct suggestions based upon the ideas presented by your hypnosis subject. So whatever a person thinks, I'll do it quick. I'll do it slower. Oh, I'm really stubborn and opinionated. I really like to know what's going on before I change my mind, or I can't be hypnotized right now. They will generally prove what their assumption is because we tend to achieve and see that which we're imagining in our minds. As a hypnotist, your clothing, the way you speak and hold yourself, and your pre-talk will all create impressions, setting a tone, a mood, and building, ideally, anticipation, expectation, and rapport. You want to tell your person or your audience a little bit about hypnosis. You might want to share what your experiences of it have been pertaining to the topic of interest to that person, how the benefits can influence that person, and how it can be used by that person. With groups, you can do group tests and relaxation before asking for any volunteers. When you select volunteers in a group, you'll want to do some group suggestions and pay attention who is having the best response, and ask for those individuals to come up and use their skills, their responses as demonstrations, because it sets a tone for the kind of responses that the rest of the students or the clients, people participating in hypnosis can expect. There are things that can help set a relaxing tone. The temperature. If it's too hot or too cold, a person may not be comfortable. I prefer to have a room a little bit warm than a little bit cool, because a person that's a little bit warm will tend to relax easier than a person who's a little bit chilly. Sound. Although it's useful to have a quiet environment, there are people who set up their offices near loud roads, and they can use background sounds like the cars going by as a background sound to reassure all is well in the outside world, and you go deeper into relaxation. With proper suggestions, the background sounds stop being a problem and start being an assistance in helping a person entering trance. Some people like background music. I used to use music in my sessions and found that there was a percentage, a small percentage, that didn't like the music. So I have stopped using background sound music because I want to avoid offending even the small percentage of people who say they don't like the music that I used to play. Some people like the sounds of nature. You can say, listen to the wind in the trees or the rain falling. Some people like it quiet. You can see as I'm doing this recording, I'm using a headset microphone because the sound quality was not the best for recording. This is also useful with clients if they are easily distracted. Headphones and a recording system to capture the session can be very helpful. Light. There's light above me right now. I have other lights that I can turn on. I have found, there we go, more lights on. I have found it's generally helpful to have a quieter, dimmer light in the room that I'm working in, very rarely to have a light that's directly in the eyes. Colors in a room. It is said that blues, purples, and greens are spiritual enhancers, and that red, orange, and yellow can stimulate animal grounding, or red can even stimulate some fiery responses. You can use color and light to set a mood for the room. For example, this Smarter Than Me phone has different capacities with light. Let me see, what do I have? Well, my Smarter Than Me light system. Ooh, now tell me that light doesn't give you images in your mind. Red light, green light. This is the rotating light. Blue light, green light. I generally stick with a white light in my room. Fragrances. Some people have allergic responses to perfumes. You might want to avoid wearing fragrances while you're working with other people. What some person considers a very pleasant smell, other people might find offensive. Incense, which smells really good to some people, reminds other people of the occult. They don't want to be around it. Some people find incense a religious or inspirational reminder. Physical discomfort can prevent a person from relaxing fully. How wonderful that hypnosis can help reduce physical discomfort through the basic strategies of relaxing. You want to have good support for the head, the neck, the body. That'll help enhance relaxation. When I go to conferences, If I'm going to enter trance and the chair is uncomfortable, I get out of my chair and lay down on the ground. I want to be comfortable. I've had times in hypnosis classes where I slid out of my chair. I was so comfortable. I've had times in hypnosis classes where I was so comfortable on the ground that I found myself having spontaneous movement and turning as I was readjusting myself. Loose clothing is good. I recommend people loosen or remove any article of clothing that may restrict or confine them. Hands and legs need to be comfortable. Generally, if you have your legs crossed or your hands crossed, the increased sense of weight on the hands and arm can be a bit uncomfortable over time. It's good to ask a person to part their legs slightly, let their hands rest on or beside them, and without touching. And in that way, you're setting a more open tone. It's very different from a person who's folding their arms and pulling themselves in. This is a person who's closing off to you, and this is a person who's opening up more. I recommend avoiding offering hypnosis to drunk or high or intoxicated people of some sort because you don't know what kind of response you're going to get. Although I have, in my basic hypnosis training, while I was out for lunch, I was sitting in a local bar or restaurant and had a man taunt me. Oh, you're here teaching hypnosis, so can you hypnotize me? He didn't say, I can't be hypnotized. No, he wanted to be hypnotized. So I finished my meal and used a progressive relaxation. And we finished. To his distress, he said, I'm not drunk anymore. I've been drinking all morning and now I'm feeling like I haven't been drinking at all. And I said, oh, that's okay. As soon as I tap your shoulder, it'll be as if you've had twice as many drinks as you had before. And I tapped his shoulder and he fell out of his chair. He was so drunk. So can we use suggestion with drunks and people who are high? We can. Would I recommend working with them? No, especially unless you're doing stage work in a bar or restaurant environment or a nightclub. Please ask your clients to come in sober and without being under the influence of substances, unless you're working with people who are taking pain pills prescribed by their physicians and you're working to help them release pain free from medications. What are the 3 things necessary to be hypnotized? You must want to be hypnotized. Nobody can make you do it against your will. You must trust yourself and develop a trust for the hypnotist. And you need to be free from any fears of hypnosis in order to relax and enjoy the experience. Mental expectancy. This is what I mentioned earlier about pick a good subject for your first demo subject in the front of the room. When you have someone who is a good hypnosis subject and they volunteer to be your first demonstration subject, it sets the tone for this is what I expect to see and this is what I expect to perceive. Now, this develops expectancy really quickly because the person thinks, oh, I want to do that. Fascination and curiosity are excellent tools to augment a person's innate ability to respond to suggestion. The person doing the hypnosis needs to have respect for the person they're working with. The emotions that you elicit can either destroy or enhance your rapport with another person. Distrust and dislike do not promote feelings of well-being, and a person will generally not enter trance with someone that they dislike or distrust. Anger, fear, revenge can block the ability to respond to suggestions. Secondary gain can block an ability to respond to suggestion, especially if a person is using their pain or their illness as a method of controlling others. Sadness can be a backdoor into the unconscious for therapeutic work, but ungrieved sorrow can be a barrier to success because the person perhaps just wants to sit with their suffering and notice how really bad their world is and be recognized for that. Joy, happiness, and love all enhance the quality of response to suggestions. So ideally, you're coming in with a good mood to work with people who are in a good mood to achieve their goals. That's not always what you will get coming in the door or showing up in your classes. I recommend that When you're working with alcoholics and addicts, they also be involved with the 12-step program of AA or NA. If you're working with people who are living with alcoholics and addicts, I recommend the Al-Anon program and codependency programs. When working with people who are dealing with eating issues, Overeaters Anonymous, great programs. This way you help develop a community support for a person who is seeking assistance in achieving long-term goals. The 4 questions at the end of chapter 108. What kinds of things can influence a person's ability to respond to hypnosis? What is mental expectancy? What are 3 things that are needed for you to enter trance? And what is recommended when working with drug and alcohol issues? Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing you again during our next chapter.